Welcome back, guys. I'm Mel7, and this is going to be a quick kind of, not really a tutorial as much, maybe partly a tutorial, but mostly just an idea to show the setup. I've had a few students in the past ask me what my kind of studio is like, and last night I had one of my students whose son is interested in trying to do a little bit of YouTube and how I did my green screen and that sort of stuff. So this is just a quick kind of, hopefully fast video on what I have and how it's set up. You don't necessarily have to spend the money I spent, and I'll kind of hopefully talk you through that a little bit. So let's go ahead and let me spin my deal around here so I can see what we're looking at. So this is kind of my desk right here. Can I zoom out maybe? Let's see if I know how to do that on this camera. Wide. There we go. That's as far as I can go. All right, so I got my two monitors there. You obviously don't need two monitors, but I do OBS, which is what I use for my broadcasting software, my recording software right there, so I can monitor it while I play games right there. Speakers are kind of hidden. I don't quite have enough space there. I do have a mic. I use a couple different ones. I have a Blue Yeti, which is a very nice expensive mic, but I have limited USB slots on this computer for all the crap I need to plug in. And this does not plug in with a USB. It plugs in with a normal microphone jack. So I do have to have a little amplifier for it, and that's hiding under there. So there are more cables overall, but less USB. And then I have my webcam up top there. And I go back and forth between either recording with this camera or recording with the webcam, depending on my mood and how much time I want to spend. I've got a couple lights. I've got a little light right there on the desk. We'll go into that more. And I've got a set of these. I've got three of them. They're fairly inexpensive. I got them on Amazon for like, I don't know, 25 bucks or something like that. You can search and get some really good screaming deals on these. I have replaced the light bulbs in them to some LEDs that are a little bit better than what came with it. But this is what I use. So that's the basic setup. Now, the green screen, which you can obviously see right there, is just hanging from a curtain rod. There's a lot of different ways. There's different types of screens. Mine is just a green cloth that hangs there. It does need to be ironed, but for the most part it works for me. And I've got a little bit of acoustic foam which is falling down up there. The 3M sticky things don't work very long on these things, I've learned. And that helps cut down on echoes and such in the room, especially up there in the corner where audio starts to bounce around. You get a lot of reverb and echo. So nothing wrong with having a little bit of reverb, but I would rather add it back in processing. So the thing with the green screen is shadows. You can see I've got some dark shadows behind the chair. And if I walk all the way around here to where the webcam sits, you can see those dark shadows are really prominent. That's going to mess with our green screen a little bit, or our software later, because that's essentially two different colors. And so you have to get rid of those separately. Now if I have my light on for me, this is kind of the key light, I guess, the light for me, those shadows can sometimes get a little bit darker as opposed to the lighter bits up here. So from there to there, especially if I'm sitting in the chair throwing even more shadow back there, it's a fairly strong color difference, which you want to get away from. Now, there's a lot of ways to set up your studio so this isn't an issue. The space I have available doesn't take care of that, or doesn't fix that for me very well. So let's run back around here, and now we'll turn on the little light. Now, I have it set back there specifically, as we run back around, to take care of that corner. And you can see most of those shadows are gone. I've got a little bit of a dark shadow right underneath on the bottom left corner there. But that's going to disappear. I'm going to crop up from there. So that doesn't matter so much. I could move the light a little bit farther back there as well, which would mean it could angle farther down, because right now it's just clipping the corner of that desk there and it can't quite get down there. So I could move that and fix it, but it's not really necessary for what I'm going to do. So from here, hopefully, as I flip the thing around again on myself here, as I sit down, we can now see that I've got a fairly even green screen back there. Most of the harsh shadows are gone. So let me switch from now over into OBS, and I'll show you how we kind of deal with things there. All right, guys. So you should be seeing, hopefully, fingers crossed. I've done this a few times now. Not to get this scene correct. You should be seeing me against a pretty cool backdrop. That's the idea anyway. So the green screen is in effect. You don't see any of the wall behind me, and you see this nice image in the background with me kind of hopefully well lit. I'm trying to glance at myself instead of the camera to make sure that's the case. I think we're good. So the question is, how did I do this with what I have? So let's go back over here to this tutorial here, and let's slide me over a little bit. Now this is the hardest bit right here. This is what took me forever to figure out how to do. How I wanted to display this screen right here. And if we just click somewhere there, that should get rid of that red line, which hopefully you weren't seeing. Well, no, you're going to see because it's on a display capture. And we don't quite have this corner nailed here, but that's okay. So this is OBS, and this is what we're looking at. What we saw before was me with a backdrop and a camera. Well, let's get rid of the camera. Here we go, minus. Well, first of all, we get rid of the backdrop completely. This is the display capture. I've just captured my entire display. Now, in this case, I actually have OBS only running half the width, right? So you can see right here, only half the width of the screen. The screen actually goes all the way over here. But then what I've done is I've gone in here to filters, and I've cropped off that left side, right? So let's 961. Let's make that a 0. See, so you can see the entire screen. That's what it looks like. But the question then is, if I have a pop-up that shows me, how do I show you what's going on right here? Because my face would be blocking it. That's what I ran into. So what we've done is we've cropped this bit up, and we can just arrow up if we want. That'll do that. Or I can just type in that number. What do we say? 961. There we go. Close. So that shows OBS here. It blanks out the rest here. There's nothing there. If I didn't have my webcam on, it'd just show up blank. Now, the webcam, because it's behind OBS, means that I can slide me around and I'm not going to interfere. You're not ever going to see me overlap these buttons. Now, if I flip these around and I put myself on front, now look, now I can block it because I'm on the top layer now. So let's go ahead and put OBS, slide that back down. That puts me behind. So when you're doing this, you have to figure out your layers. Normally, you're going to have your game or your display capture behind you so that you show up in front of the screen, right? That's the idea. You know, I put myself down in here, somewhere down in this corner like that, and I'd sit down there and talk to you. But that's not what we want today. We want me big, huge, and behind the display. So now how do we do this? Now, if we wanted to add a webcam, let's go ahead and subtract me for the minute. There we go. We're going to remove the webcam. How would we add that back in? We would come down here to this plus, and we have all our options. You see one of them is display capture. That's how we got the display screen we have right now. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick video capture device. Now, I could select new. I could say okay. I could pick whatever I wanted here. I already have mine built though, so we're going to minimize this one that we just canceled. I don't know why it shows up when you canceled it. It is a little bit of a bug. Video capture device, add existing, webcam, bam, there I am. We want to drag me down behind the display, slide me over just with the mouse wherever I like. How about right there? That looks pretty good. And there we go. That's our webcam. Now, I've done some work in this webcam. Let's go ahead and get rid of that work. Yes, we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of the crop pad. Yes. Okay, so if we were to throw me more or less like that, let's move the display capture away for a second. Maybe not. There we go. You can see that you can see all sorts of stuff in there. You can see the walls behind me outside of the green screen. So the question is, how do I fix that? Right? How do I better leave that there so we can see some of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into webcam right here. I'm going to click filters. Filters is going to let me see all of this right here. Now we can go to effect filters and we want to hit plus. The first thing I'm going to do is add a crop pad. And a crop pad is going to let me crop off this bit right here. Just like if I had a photograph and I cropped by cutting the sides off so you don't see them anymore. Now I can type numbers in here or I can arrow up and down. However I want to do it. Just like we did a second ago with our display capture. We're going to do the same thing here. And we're just going to slowly use the arrows and get rid of that left side. We're going to get rid of the outside. We'll type in a little bit. There's 150. That's not quite enough. 160. We'll arrow up the rest of the way to get rid of those. There we go.
So those are gone. And we can play with all that as much as we want. So the next thing we want to do is get rid of the green screen, right? We don't want to see that. So the next filter I'm going to do, we're going to come back here, right click on webcam again, click filters, hit plus again. I'm going to do what's called a chroma key. And there's a few different ways to do this. There's also this color key here. I don't think it works quite as well. But we're going to pick a chroma key. And this chroma key is going to be what gets rid of this. Now, it automatically is set up for green screens. Now, it's a slightly different color than we use for ours, but it will still work. You can see it'll get rid of it, but you can see I'm beginning to lose my shoulder here. Now, the smoothness here is part of it, and we can get rid of that. Go up. Oh, is it going to get rid of it? There we go. Pretty good. So it will work generally out of the box. And we have different colors of screens. You can buy blue or red screens. Magenta is a type of red. And those will get rid of that. Now, if you don't want to use this, or if you have a different color screen, for instance, you don't have a green screen at all. Maybe you've just hung a sheet behind you, and that sheet happens to be whatever color it may be. So let's pretend like we need to come up with a custom color. So we're going to do that. We're going to say custom color, and we're going to come over here. We're going to say select color. And now I need to keep this on the side of the screen we can see. I can play with this color. So I can move this around wherever I want. You know, I can go there, and I can run this up and down, and I think it's not bad, but maybe ours is a little bit greener. Maybe it's not. It's a little bit darker. Something like that. We'd say okay, and yeah, clearly that worked. So let's come bring it down, and there we go. So we got a little bit extra there. Now, if I didn't have my lights on, like for instance, if I wasn't taking care of that dark spot on the light, if I turn it off. Oh, it's actually okay. You can see how much darker that is. So this top bit is one color out to a lightness of about 75. We can kind of go down, but as we start to try to color that in, oh, we actually did okay this time. But look at that. You know, essentially we go just a couple more and bam. If we do enough to lose this on the bottom, we lose my shoulder. Now there's a couple ways around that. We can back up one. We can do this color spill reduction. What that does is it lowers it slowly fades stuff towards black and white. So we can do that, and that's going to hopefully help us get rid of some of that color spill. No, it didn't quite help with that. We can do similarity. Oh no, that made it even worse. Let's back up. Let's back up. And I just kind of play with this stuff a little bit till I get what I want. So at least it gives me a more smooth version here. And that's okay, but we're still seeing a little bit of a shadow there. So my green clearly is off a little bit. And there's different ways to play with that. I'm going to go back, turn on my lights again. And since we actually got the green screen to work by itself, I'm just going to go ahead and, oh, there we go. Looks pretty close. Let's go with that today. So you can stack these. So you can get one green that gets this. So for instance, maybe your backdrop has stripes in it. Or maybe you've just got really unequal light and you've got a really dark shadowed corner and a bright bit, which is normally what I'm fighting. You can stack these. You can do multiple chroma keys. So we could do this green one, but then we could come in here. Let's say let's minus that out a little bit. So then we want to get rid of this one. We come in here, we'd add another chroma key. We'll call this one chroma key 2. You do this if you have stripes on the wall and you want to get rid of the, say, red and blue stripes. You get rid of the red, then you get rid of the blue. The more colors you have, the more you're going to run into issues with what you're wearing. Make sure you're not wearing the color that's on the backdrop. For instance, my hat happens to be green. So I tend to sometimes, and it's hard to tell here, but some of that green is starting to disappear because of the chroma key. So sometimes when I look up, all of a sudden a green screen's up here. Something to be aware of. So let's add another chroma key. And this one we're going to want to add, we'll add a custom color here. And we're going to select our color. And we know we want something kind of darkish because we're way down there. And we'll give it a little bit more blue. Oh, it's pretty dark. Something like that. We'll guess with that. I don't think that, oh, that got rid of me too. See if we can bring me back. There I am. There I am. Nope. We made it too dark. Let's knock down this color spill here a little bit to give me a little bit of color back. And that should hopefully, no. It gets rid of some of it. I'm a little bit see-through-y here. But you can play with that till you get it exactly the way you want. And I wish I had some great keys for you. But I don't. I mean, here it kind of makes, it keeps my face nice and sharp and the shirt disappears. That's not necessarily a bad look. it's going to make me a little bit see-through on a background. So if we say close here, you can see I'm dark because it's a black background. But if we move me in front, we see you can see through my body and the back, but not my face. So I'm a little bit ghostly sitting here. So you don't lose all of it. So that's not necessarily a terrible look. It's up to you to figure out what type of style you want for this and what type of look you want. I generally prefer a fairly clear one, but this isn't bad because this way you still don't necessarily lose whatever you're sitting on top of. If there's a little bit of a menu there, maybe one you don't use very often, but once in a while is really important, you can do this. There's other ways to do that. You can come in here to your properties, and you can change all sorts of stuff in here. One of the things you could, is it in here, configure video? I like to turn the autofocus off, so if I move my hand close, it doesn't zoom to this and then blur the rest of me and then be struggling as I move. It just stays fixed, and I have to deal with whatever it is. So I turn off the autofocus. I also usually turn off the auto exposure because otherwise it adjusts as you move and the light hits you differently and it tries to brighten it dark and it looks a little weird. So I tend to do that. Wasn't really what I was looking for. Was it under filters maybe? Oh, it's on maybe transform. By the way, if you want to look a different direction, you want to flip something, you can flip yourself. Now you look in the other direction. You want to put yourself upside down, go for it. You can flip vertical. If you've drug yourself off the screen somewhere and you're not quite sure what the heck's going on, you can come to transform and say fit to screen, and it will put you back and fit it to the screen perfectly. If it's a really narrow crop or whatever, you can stretch it, right? So the backdrop I was using was like this big. So what I did was I used transform stretch to screen, and it stretched it out so it filled the whole thing. So you got a lot of different options there. This actually works pretty good, to be honest. Better than I thought it was. I'm going to move me, well, we'll just put myself back here. That's how we'll do it. Put me back behind the screen there, and then we'll drag me nice and however big we need to do that. There we go. Something like that. So that's how I deal with the green screen in OBS. Now, the question is, how did I build that previous thing? So I essentially brought in a backdrop. In this case, we'll use our display capture, and I put myself in front of it. I mean, essentially, that's it. All I did was, here, I'm lit. We've got all our filters up. If we were to, let's drag this up, and let's get rid of our filter. Well, here, let me do that backwards. Let me change that. Let me go back down here so you can see everything that I'm doing. There we go. If we go to display capture and we right click and we go to filters, we can go to this crop pad. Let's get rid of it. We'll just hit minus and it subtracts it. There we go. We're gone. So now, there we go. I'm going to, just to make sure it's there, I'm going to do a fit to screen. Transform. Fit to screen. There we go. I'm on top of it, so I show up, whereas if I go here, I'm gone. Now, we've made me kind of ghostly here, so I'm floating over it instead of real sharp and bold across it. But we can come back and we can play with that. We can minimize this one. Yep, we can come back here. We know this one worked really well. Gave us a nice, if we can find that sweet spot right there, a nice sharp one right there. We'll call it good there. We'll hit closed. And there I am. It's a little bit fuzzy up there. We could fine tune it if we wanted to, but that's essentially it. And instead of this, I had a picture. So I went into image, and in this, you pick whatever image you want. You pick your image, you say whatever, and you go looking for it. So here I am. These are some pictures I've got, and these are, I pay for stock photos from a company called Deposit Photos. That's who I use for a lot of this. You'll see, get my thumbnails and stuff. I maybe do editing. So for instance, for my first looks, this is the base picture. It's changed a little bit. For a previous one, for a playthrough, we had the unicorn here. I've used this as part of one. And all these get used for some of that. I used this the last time, but hey, let's pick a different picture. Let's use this one right now. That one looks pretty cool. We'll say open. We'll say okay. And there it is. Now it's huge, so we're going to come here and we're going to say transform fit to screen. Now you can see again this one here is a little bit too wide. So we can do a couple things. We can either one, drag this down so we get a little bit more out of that and put it over there. And maybe that's what we want. I'm going to drag up a little bit. There we go. Now I want to be in front of this a little bit, so let's let's move the image between webcam and me. And there we go. So the webcam's at the top, then comes this image, and finally is the display capture in the back. Now we could flip that around. Now the display capture's in the middle. Now the display capture's at the top. However you want to do that. And that's essentially how I did that screen. It's pretty basic. This could be a game. This could be whatever. Now I do a lot of my editing after the fact. I do in Adobe Premiere. That's what I use. I like it. It's good. I've taken classes on it. And because I'm a student and a teacher, I'm able to get a educational discount on it, which makes it a little bit more affordable for the Creative Suite. But you can do your editing a lot of things. In fact, you can do editing in OBS by using this studio mode down here. Whoops, you can't see that because I'm full size here. Let me get rid of, let's go back to what we had before. We'll hide our image there, and we'll move me behind here. Yeah, and we'll go back to, where the heck were we? Display capture. Filters. I should have just hidden my filter instead of getting rid of it. But let's come back down here. Oops. Plus crop pad. Yep, crop pad is fine. Left 961. Oops, 960. Close enough. It's probably right too. And we'll move it over here. There we go. And we'll come over here and we'll find me. And we'll move me over here. And there we go. So you can use studio mode here to do editing. I've never used it, so I can't speak to how effective it is. But what you also can do is you can say, screw it, I don't want to do editing. I want to just record it exactly how I want it to come out. And you can do that. You can see I have a number of scenes built here. The final scene is that final video that you looked at just a minute ago. The tutorial scene is this one right here. So we can do all that sort of stuff. Now, what I've built here is I've got an opening, I've got a tutorial, which happens to be the body of our video here, and I have a closing. So I can go from one to the next. So we can start with my opening here. And if I have it set up initially so this media source isn't picked, it's just that. And what we can do is we can say, okay, I'm going to start there. Yeah, hopefully this is recording the way I want it to. And I say, okay, this is my thumbnail for my video. So we come up here, we hit start record, we're on this, we give it a second, we don't talk, we got to be quiet, and we roll our intro video. That's going to roll through. All right, we had to do a little extra editing because the dog saw the mail lady and went nuts, and then I have reshot this 3 times since then. So just for, and Copper's not helping because every time I start, she decides to make weird noises off on the outside. So we get ready to do this. We want to do the whole thing in OBS. We don't want to have to do any Premiere. We've got it all set up. I've got 3 different scenes set up, and each of those scenes has a range of things. They'll have a webcam if I need it. They may have an image. They may have a video that plays, however it may be. Now, normally, you wouldn't necessarily see this with the display capture. You might have your game capture, but you wouldn't have it for your openings and your closings. So we'd click on opening, and initially, it would come out. You'd have it just like this. You'd have your image and your display capture. In fact, you might do 2 scenes. You might create a scene that's just the background image and a scene that's just the media source. In fact, let's do that. Let's minus that media source there. Let's go ahead and we'll add another one. We'll open opening video, and I know that's horribly misspelled. Opening video. There we go. Say OK. Now, I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to add a display capture so you can see what I'm doing. So we're just going to keep adding what we've got. So there we go. There's that deal there. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our video. And so we'll click down here. We'll say add media source. We're going to call this one Return to Glory. Say OK. It's going to ask where that video lives. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to find that, and should be here. There we go. And that video. Now I can have this just loop. I can do all sorts of things. And I'm going to want to close it when it's inactive so it's not taking up extra memory space. And we're going to say OK there. Now it's really, really loud, but I'm going to turn it down by using this slider here, which you can't see because it's too big. Let me kind of get this how we want it so it works its way down. So I'm going to slide it up here to just underneath opening. So when I get ready to start my video, I go ahead, I come up here to opening, I've got just my screen, I hit start recording right here, We've got our background. We're not saying anything. And in fact, I might even have the mic muted here, so we know that it's quiet through most of these. Then I go ahead and I roll the video. The video is going to play through. There's my opening video. We're going to skip ahead a little bit to the tutorial. Welcome back, friends. I'm Mellow7, and this is whatever it happens to be. In this case, it's our OBS. I go ahead. We've got the bulk of our media right here. We're talking. We're doing our thing. Yada, yada, yada. We get ready to finish. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Like if you liked it. You know what to do if you hated it. All that sort of stuff. And then we come down here and we click on the closing. Jello does her thing. She rolls through. When she's done, you hit stop recording. And that's it. Stop record. It's over. You don't need to do any editing beyond that. It's already been done. You've gone from your thumbnail to your intro video to the body of your video to your closing, all without having to open up Premiere or anything else. The hardest bit about that is making sure that your audio levels are where you want them to be. And that can take some practice. So what I'll do is I'll kind of set them up, and I've got my voice at -3. I've got the desktop audio, the game, whatever's playing at -18.6. 0 is the maximum volume that your speakers can handle without starting to blow out. If I make this -3 and I want something to be a little bit louder later, there's a little bit of room that I can make something go louder if I want it to and let it get there. Broadcast standards for TV, a conversation should be between -9 and -12, right? That's where it should be. YouTube being YouTube, we started out there and then somebody wanted more attention, so they raised their volume a little bit. So they were a little bit louder than everybody else. And the next guy raised his a little bit. And the next guy, and most people record theirs at just 0 now. But it's bad practice, and it doesn't allow you the flexibility later to go a little bit louder if you want to get attention for something. If you do make this broadcast standard and you set this so your voice falls between -9 and -12, then you're going to be too quiet. And whenever somebody watches your video, they have to turn up the volume, and they're just not going to mess with it. They're just not going to come back. It's a battle I fought and lost. So I set my voice at -3. I want the game to be heard, but not to drown me out. So I've got it set between -17 and -20 is about right. My games are a little bit different. RimWorld, even at that, seems quieter than Football Manager. So I kind of have it here. I can adjust it a little bit. I have this set to output 2 different audio channels that I can adjust independently in Premiere. But if you're doing Steam and you only have one, or you're trying to just record this in one shot, then you need to make sure that these are exactly where you want them before you start. And you can play the game a little bit and talk and record a 30-second bit. Come in and listen. Is that where I want it? Do I need my voice a little higher? Do I need theirs a little quieter? And you can play with these sliders all you want to get exactly the way you want it. And this is pretty good for me. I'm pretty happy with this. But that's going to be up to you to figure out. Yeah. So in final closing, let's go back over to the final screen here, since that's where kind of maybe there. Halo-y me, give me a little halo of light there. Let's talk about the hard way and the easy way to do this. The hard way to do this is with expensive lights and expensive mic, like the Yeti Blue Yeti, excuse me. Lots of nice studio lights, expensive green screen, multiple monitors, in fact, multiple computers. The cheap way to do this is with your laptop, with your built-in webcam, with a sheet hanging over a clothesline in behind you, and the window in front of you to hopefully give you some even lighting, or a cheap work light. Those are all ways to do that. Or just don't do a face cam, right? And then you don't have to deal with the green screen at all. And there are plenty of excellent YouTubers out there that do gaming videos that which is what I do, which don't use face cam. Your genre is going to depend on your genre and what you want out of it. And I assume we're just seeing me on the right here, which is interesting. I've just realized that because it's full screen for me within, oh, well, no, I guess it should work. I don't know. I'm having trouble visualizing right now. This is like the 15th time I've tried to record this. Anyway, there's plenty of YouTubers that don't use face cam at all. So it's not necessary. You don't need it. You can get by with the mic on the laptop if you have one, or with a cheap mic. I have a $25 mic. I like it, actually. It's a little bit quieter than my Yeti is. I need to raise the volume a little bit more. I need to speak a little bit louder to get out of it, but it works just fine. There's no issues with it. If you do actually buy a webcam or have a separate webcam, that has a mic in it too. I don't happen to be using the one on this one, but it's a perfectly acceptable version. There's a lot of ways to do what we do very, very cheaply. I fall somewhere in the middle. I've got some expensive stuff. My webcam happens to be one of the pricier webcams. I also happen to have the, my little Sony camera here. That's a a $200 camera as well. But you don't have to use any of this expensive crap. You don't have to. You can do this very simply. If you do want some lights, again, I bought a set of 3 for 25 bucks and replaced the light bulbs in them. The bulbs in them are okay. I would say they're not kid friendly for those of you who are kids or parents. There are these spiral halogens that break really easily. I'd get rid of those instantly and just go with a nice solid LED bulb that's just plastic and isn't going to generate a lot of heat. It's not going to hurt anybody. And it's not going to break. Also, I think they give you arguably better light at this point than that older technology, which is why the cheap ones come with the older bulbs at the moment. So there's a lot of ways to do it, and not all of them are expensive at all. So it's just up to you to kind of figure out what fits your budget and what you have. And some stuff I already had from previous life when I made money, and some of it's cheap stuff that I bought to fill in. So just think about it when you do it. Don't waste a lot of cash on this. Play with it. Like I say, you can do all this really easily in OBS with or without a webcam, and good luck. If you watch this and you run out and you do your own and you put it up on YouTube, come back. Let me know. Share it with me. Put it at the bottom of this one, in the comments of this one, or whatever happened video you happen to be watching next. Maybe it happens in 2 months and you watch a RimWorld video and you're like, Eric, Mellow7, whatever you feel like calling me. Eric, I used it, and this is the video I made, with my green screen, and maybe I did it the way you said, maybe I did it some way different, but this is how it turned out. Come take a look. I'd love to take a look. Give me a link for it in the bottom, and we'll see it. Okay. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it was useful for you. If not, I'm sorry. Let me know what I could have done better, or what you're really interested in seeing. There's lots and lots of tutorials on OBS out there. People that know it a lot better than I do, that I watch to get to my middling understanding. So if OBS is what you want, go out there and find some of those. If you want to learn how to edit in Premiere, look up one of those. Like I say, there's people who are better set up to do that sort of thing than I am. But if you really have to see with my face over, then let me know, and maybe I'll bow to peer pressure and generate something like that. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Cheers. Oh, hold on. We'll go to Jello here on our closing. There we go. Cheers, guys.